Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study of the entire Bible. We are in Job, chapter 1. We started chapter 1 and I got a little off track, only dealing with the phrase, the sons of God, and then I just indulged myself a little bit to talk about if the phrase sons of God mean angels. Um, but in Job, for sure, they mean, um, they certainly mean the angels. Let's get back to it first. Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. Um, all right, so I'm going to start at verse 1 again. It said, there was a man in the country of Uz named Job. He was a man of perfect integrity who feared God and turned away from evil. Now, I'm not really going into the location of Uz. A lot of people don't. We can say when they say it's somewhere in the east. I'm gonna see here. I don't have a Bible map, and I didn't want to really get into how far this is, but this is some of the Bible maps that I had before. And this is just sort of kind of give you an idea when they say the land of the east. So as you're looking at the picture right there, if I can bring up another one, the east. So the east, you look at the sea here. This is kind of more north. All right, let me see. All right, this is the kind of some Bible maps, and again, this is more kind of modern city. But I want you to see where um, the Mediterranean Sea, Jerusalem. So when they talk about east, it would mean anything kind of west of that. Okay, anything west of that. And again, and then times were different, so the over times, the growth of nations, the expanse of kingdoms and nations changed all of that. Um, but when they say east, that's so usually that's the kind of the general location east of Israel. I think that's probably the best way to kind of look at it, east of Israel. But he said there was a man in the country of Uz named Job. He was a man of perfect integrity who feared God and turned away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. His estates were included 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen. By the way, that term yoke of oxen would have been a yoke is like two. You take two in pairs, so like 1,000 yoke, 1,000 oxen, 500 female donkeys, a very large number of servants. Job was the greatest man among all the people of the East. Now, what makes Job great is also more than his wealth, was that he was a man of integrity. All right. His sons used to take turns having banquets at their homes. Remember, he had 10 sons. 7 sons and 3 daughters. They would send an invitation to their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. This really gives a good family dynamic. In other words, the family got along, okay, with 5. Whenever a round of banqueting was over, Job would send for his children to purify them, rising early in the morning to offer burnt offerings for all of them. For Job thought, perhaps my children have sinned, having cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular practice. He reminds me of David. The Bible says that David was a man after God's own heart. One of the things that made David great was his godliness, meaning that he always viewed life from the perspective of God. And this right here kind of gives us an insight to Job's heart and character. That the thought they might have sinned against God, he would then offer the burnt offerings and then purify them. Verse 6. One day the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. Now, when you introduce the word Satan, we already talked about the sons of God. What is interesting about the term sons of God here means angels. What is not necessarily clear, were these rebellious angels or good angels? It basically said the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. Now, we saw how the sons of God were used in Genesis 6. So at this point, it's just a question. He also said that Satan came before them. Now, we know that Satan and Lucifer are the same being, different names. However, there are some interesting meanings by the name. The word Satan means an adversary, and then the word devil means accuser of the brethren. Okay? So the idea here is that he said Satan came, the Lord, one day the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. In other words, the adversary, if we said the adversary, it'd be the same. Now, another question, of course, is why the heck is Satan there among the throne of God? Now, we have another example of this. And let me bring this here. I'm taking the advantage of dealing with some of these things that we don't get a chance to deal with here. So I am, for the first couple of lessons here, I am doing a kind of slow crawl in here. Let me go to 1 Kings. And where do I want to go here? Let's make it 2 Kings. Now here it is. It is 1 Kings 22, chapter 22. Now, this was wicked King Ahab. And God is getting ready to pronounce judgment on him. And so Jehoshaphat is a good king, but had a bad habit of aligning with wicked kings. So in this, I'll really start with verse 1. It says that there was a lure of 3 years without war between Aram and Israel. However, in the 3rd year, Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, went to visit the king of Israel. Now, I think there was a marriage in one of the daughters as well. But Jehoshaphat had an affinity. The problem is that this affinity with the king of Israel, they were all wicked kings. And ultimately, he would be rebuked by a prophet for this. But listen to what happens here. Though the king of Israel had said to his servants, "Don't you know that Ramoth Gilead is ours, but we have failed to take it from the hand of the king of Aram?" So he asked Jehoshaphat, "Will you go up with me to fight in Ramoth Gilead?" Jehoshaphat replied to the king of Israel, "I am as you are, my people are as your people, my horses as your horses." But Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, "First, please ask what the Lord's will is." Now, it's kind of funny, as we're going to see, he won't pay attention to it. So the kings of Israel gathered the prophets, about 400 men, and asked them, "Should I go up to Ramoth Gilead for war, or should I refrain?" They replied, "March up, the Lord will hand it over to you." But Jehoshaphat asked, "Isn't there a prophet of Yahweh here anymore? Let us ask him." Now, what's kind of baffling about me to hear is that Jehoshaphat, who was sitting among a wicked king, wicked kingdom, wicked people, he asked for a prophet of the Lord. He clearly can see that none of these people are of the Lord, because he says that. Is there a true prophet? Verse 8, the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, there is still one man who could ask Yahweh, but I hate him because he never prophesies good about me, but only disaster. His name is Micaiah, son of Imlah. The king shouldn't say that, Jehoshaphat replied. Now that's a weak reply. The king shouldn't say that. Hey, Jehoshaphat, the fact that a true prophet is prophesying something, why aren't you listening? But okay, I digress. So the king of Israel called an officer and said, hurry and get Micaiah, son of Imlah, Imlah, let me try to pronounce this right, Imlah. Now the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, clothed in royal attire, were each sitting on their own throne. And they were on the threshing floor of the entrance of Samaria's gate, and all of the prophets prophesying in front of them. And Zedekiah, son of Cheniah, made iron horns and said, this is what the Lord says, you will gore the Arameans with these until they are finished off. And all the prophets were prophesying the same. March up to Ramoth Gilead and succeed, for the Lord will hand it over to you. Now, no one there believed that this was a true message of God, which is sad on their part, right? The messengers who went and called Micaiah instructed him, look, the words of the prophets are unanimously favored for the king. So let your words be like like theirs, and speak favorably. But Micaiah said, if the Lord lives, I will say whatever the Lord says to me. So he went to the king, and the king asked him, Micaiah, should we go up to Ramoth Gilead for war, or should we refrain? And Micaiah told him, march up and succeed. Yahweh, we hand it over to the king. Now, I imagine by this exchange that he probably is like, yeah, whatever, sure. Yeah, go ahead, do that. Verse 16, this is why. Notice his response. The king said, how many times must I make you swear to the Lord to tell me anything but the truth in the name of Yahweh? So Micaiah said, I saw Israel scattered on the hills like sheep without a shepherd. And the Lord said, they have no master. Let everyone return home in peace. Now that's the word of the prophet. So the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, didn't I tell you never prophesied good about me, but only disaster? And at this point, I would have said, okay, Jehoshaphat, good man, why aren't you listening? Verse 19, then Micaiah said, therefore hear the word of the Lord. Now this is what I wanted to point out here, because he gives this prophecy, and in this prophecy is a very interesting revelation. Then Micaiah said, therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and the whole heavenly host was standing by. Excuse me. The whole heavenly host was standing by him at his right hand and on his left hand. Now I want you to kind of get the picture here. A heavenly scene, the throne of God, and then he says the heavenly host. The heavenly host was standing around God's throne. Verse 20. And the Lord said, who will entice Ahab to march up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? So one was saying this, and another was saying that. Then the Spirit came forward, stood before him, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will entice him. And the Lord asked him, how? And he said, I will go and become a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And then he said, you will certainly entice him and prevail and go and do that. You see, the Lord has put a lying spirit into the mouth of all these prophets of yours, and the Lord has pronounced disaster against you. Now, this is a very interesting prophecy, because in it, this revelation of this, I don't even need to get off here, but anyway, no. This prophecy here, I am going to go back to Job. So this is one of the things we see where let's kind of break some of the um, what we would think of as our kind of strange theology. I told you before, Job. Job. One of the things about Job is that he burst a lot of theologies. So one of the theologies right here that right off the bat we see is that one, we have this image of whatever is going on in heaven. Here is Satan among the sons of God who are presenting themselves before God. We saw at another time from this perspective in the future, another scene where this heavenly host is standing around God, and you have this scene where this spirit. Now we're not even identified with that scene. It just said a spirit came forth and said, "I'll go and entice Ahab to fall." Right. So we don't know if he's a bad angel or a good angel. What we know about angels, they were created in sometime in eternity past, before, and presumably before the foundation of the world, or the universe as we know it. There is an innumerable number of angels. A third of the angels fell when Lucifer rebelled. Now, if in reality, if you really want to kind of look at the origins of sin, the ideal of the origins of sin, and then even the fact of darkness, that the presence of darkness is a reminder of sin. We get a glimpse of that in the book of Revelations, because in the new age there will be no more darkness, that everything will be light. Now imagine daylight. So this is at the time of this taping, January, right, just after the new year. So it gets dark at 4:30, right? It starts to get dark. But in the midday, just imagine if it was light all around. Now I would love to go and see those parts of the earth, like some of the northernmost part of Africa. I mean, Alaska, I think you can go where it's 24-hour lights, or 22 hours, whatever. And then in the winter, it's the opposite. I would love to see that. Okay. But the idea that at some point in eternity past, sin was introduced into God's creation. Now, when Adam sinned, of course, sin was introduced into the earth. But from the universe perspective, sin was introduced by Lucifer in eternity past. Now, ever since then, what the question becomes then, where have these angels been? Right? What's up with these angels? Right? You got the fallen angels. And kind of an interesting thing that it's not until the book of Revelations that in the 12th chapter that Satan is expelled. Him and his hosts are expelled from the heavens into the earth. So when we kind of put this all together, that right now you have some kind of relationship, or when I say relationship, well, there's something, and we get only glimpse from our perspective. The Bible only gives us a glimpse. So my point is, we don't know all there is to know about this kind of the angels and all of this issue here with the how God is dealing with the fallen angel. Now we get this glimpse right here. Satan is no stranger, and there is some access to for Satan into the presence of God. Now again, we don't have any more information on that. Now I say that because this idea when the people say, well, God cannot look upon sin, that he's so holy that he is not around sin. My point is that myth is not simply not true. God is holy. God abhors sin. He judges sin. But the idea that he is never around sin, as we can see right here, Satan comes right into the midst. Right? Right at the throne of God. Satan comes to the very throne of God. And as we can even see right there, this heavenly host, and you have this spirit right here. And there's something about that, what we just read in the story of Ahab, that this lying spirit would, this angel would come and be a lying spirit into the mouth of his prophets. So was that a good angel or a bad angel? Now, because if you say that he's a good angel, there's problems with that, right? Because he's a good angel who basically just said, I'm going to be a lying spirit, with his prophets. Now, here's my point. We really don't have enough information to know what's really going on in the spiritual realm. And that is the most kind of interesting thing right here. Other than the fact that here we have Satan who comes out, who comes in the midst. And then and then, as I said before, since I am here, I'll close with this. Let me go to Revelation chapter 12 and just show you all right quick. Revelation chapter 12. Now, this the picture here. Excuse me. The picture here of Satan. It says this is Revelation 12, verse 1 says, the great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars under her head. She was pregnant and cried in labor and agony as she was about to give birth, and another sign appeared in heaven. There was a great sign, fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on its head were 7 diadems. Now you kind of get into what Revelation, what John is revealing here. Verse 12 says, his tail swept away a third of the stars in the heavens and hurled them to the earth. Now the third of the angels, even though there's probably a lot of angels, a lot of demons, we can say that. But remember this now, only a third fall, which means 2/3 didn't fall. Just want to throw that in. It says, and the dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she did give birth, he might devour her child. But she gave birth to a son, a male son, who was going to shepherd all of the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was caught up to God and to a throne. And the woman fled in the wilderness, where she had the place prepared by God to be fed there 1260 days. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels also fought, but he could not prevail. And there was no place for them in the heavens any longer. So the dragon was thrown out, that ancient serpent who was called the devil and Satan, the one who deceives the whole world. He was thrown to the earth, and his angels with him. Now, I wanted to see that so that we can see the continuity, that when we talk about Satan, we are talking about Lucifer, we are talking about Satan, who was thrown out of heaven. Okay? And what is kind of interesting about this, by the way, what is interesting, of course, that we only get glimpse, so we can't form, to me, concrete theology on it. We only should speak only what is revealed. What is interesting, of course, is we don't know all this kind of going on. And it's not until this time, which from our perspective is yet from the future, that Satan's even going to be thrown out, which means right now there is access, just as we have seen, there is access in the heavens with Satan. There is access. And so here when he appears before the throne of God, God is not shocked. He's not throwing up like, I want to get him out of here right now. He comes and he asks. He asks. There's going to be a conversation that we're going to get to. But this is kind of interesting. That's why I'm taking the time to deal with it. We don't oftentimes have the kind of revelation that's dealt with it here, but it is interesting that what is going on. Like I say, he won't really get kicked out until in the future in Revelation chapter 12. But right now, there's this sort of activity that's going on, and we're going to see it next time. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below all comments. So welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Look, I'll see you in the next study.